Hello world, Coach Chris here. Video 2 for our review of Living the Hero's Journey by Will Craig, our friend Will. So at the end of the last video, I promised you that this time I would provide the classical view of the hero's journey. Again, for whatever reason, Will decided not to include that in his book. And so in the preface and introduction, he lightly gets into it, but again, doesn't provide the standard visual for the hero's journey. Now, if you go and Google it, there are many different versions, but they all hover around the same principle, and that would be the 12 steps of the hero's journey. And they are as shown. So can you see that? I'm probably gonna have to show this a better way. Maybe I'll do some visuals with the computer. But what you can see is if you start at the top, you're in the ordinary world, right? This is living life. There's no thought or feeling or urge to do anything beyond what you're doing right here, right now. Some would say you're blissful, you're happy. Some would say you're content or you're ignorant. It doesn't matter what your term is. If you're in that place, you're probably not even watching this video. You're probably not reading self-development and personal growth books. And so this tends to be the less interesting part of the entire hero's journey. And so what happens is you have a limited awareness of any problems at this point, right? So that's it. That's the first one. Then there is what they call the call to adventure. And you can see that here. So you're at the top of the journey, kind of in your la-la land, and then you have the call to adventure. This is where you have an increased awareness of a need to change, right? And again, this came up with by Campbell, James Campbell, from mythologies throughout history in the world, and then it was cleaned up a little bit, made a bit more consumable for production, for TV, movies, script writers. And so this is classically that part of the movie where the main character becomes aware there's a problem, right? So this book does a great job of leveraging very well-known stories, films. So It's a Wonderful Life, Aladdin, Harry Private Ryan, Beauty and the Beast, Good Will Hunting, Dead Poets Society, Romancing the Stone. So that's the citations that this author Craig Will uses throughout the entire book, but it's infinite. It is literally anything, right? It would be a rare instance if you were watching a movie or a film or reading something where it doesn't follow the hero's journey. I have experienced a few movies that are very weird, that probably only follow a portion of the hero's journey, and I don't know if it's directly because of that, but I would venture to say that it probably is. The movie sucked, and it had very poor reviews, and people don't like it. So that is an indicator that we all kind of recognize this, what James Campbell calls the monomyth, right? So the hero's journey is also called the monomyth, right? Which is a very cool term. Basically, it just means it is the one mythology throughout all of the mythologies. So again, call to adventure is step 2. This is where Luke Skywalker finds that little droid, right? Help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi. It is where Neo gets the text on the screen. Like, that's his first inkling that something's not normal, right? The ordinary world isn't quite, and there's just tons and tons of instances of that. And then there's the refusal of the call. That's step 3, refusal of the call. So in almost all of these instances, the main hero, the main character, goes through some sort of denial. Like, they hear it, they see it, they recognize it, but they're not quite ready to take the leap, right? For whatever reason, everything in their ordinary life is holding them back, or their perceived ordinary life is perfect, so why should I venture out into this world? Or any number of other possibilities. It's preventing them from just immediately going into action, which from a movie perspective, it helps to build, right? It might not be quite as exciting as Neo if Neo would have been nonchalant and been like, sure, I'll come in, right? Or if Luke would have been like, yeah, I'm going to become a sorcerer space pirate, right? It's not really how it works. Which, interestingly enough, is also how the real world works too. How many of you can think back to a change that you went through? And that's what you probably focus on, is the change. You're like, yeah, I made that change. Good for me. But if you go back and think, it probably wasn't as quick as that. You probably didn't just wake up one morning and go, aha, I'm going to go do this thing. There was probably some inkling, some nagging feeling. Maybe it was a bit more blunt. Something drastic happened, in your good or bad, in your life. And that was a call, right? It was a call to action. But more than likely, you didn't just jump on it. It took something else. And there was probably a refusal of that call. The next one is meeting the mentor. That's step 4 as you continue your way around, meeting the mentor. So again, I'm going to keep referencing just 2 of my favorites, The Matrix and Star Wars. That would be where Neo meets Morpheus. In Star Wars, it's much more obvious because it's the gray beard, it's Obi-Wan Kenobi. And don't think that the mentor has to be an old, wise, grizzled man, white male, whatever. It can be anybody. And quite frankly, it can be a thing. There are many instances in pop culture movies where that call is not occurs, and the mentor isn't actually a person. It's more of a thing or an entity or a structure. So it's not limited to a person. It could be anything, really. Any mechanism that gets our hero to do this next thing, which is to cross the threshold, step 5. Right? So what you'll notice is that at the top, it's the ordinary world. So as you're moving from, the beginning to here, all of this is the ordinary world, right? Just is what it is. But once you cross that threshold, you start to go into this special world, right? That is where the magic happens. This would be